Imagine the heat of a tropical sun on your neck, the smell of salt air, and the sound of 500 men breathing in unison. You are standing on the edge of a world that doesn't want you there. Behind you, the only link to your home, your family, and your safety is being devoured by flames. 11 ships. The wood groans as it buckles under the heat. The sails, once white against the blue horizon, turn to black ash and drift into the Mexican sky. This wasn't an accident, it was a command. Burn them, he had said. Hernán Cortés didn't just destroy ships that day, he destroyed the concept of failure. By the time the last ember hissed out in the surf, there were only 2 options left for every man on that beach: conquering an empire of millions or dying in the dirt of a foreign land. Welcome to the Chronicles of Time. Today, we move past the myths and the legends. We look at the cold, hard reality of a man who stole a fleet, defied a king, and gambled the lives of hundreds on a single desperate belief that if you give a man no way to retreat, he becomes a god of war. To understand the fire on the beach, we have to understand the man holding the torch. Hernán Cortés wasn't born a conqueror. He was born in 1485 in Medellín, Spain, a land of dry heat and old grudges. He was a sickly child, a law school dropout, and a man who was clearly bored by the quiet life of the Spanish gentry. The New World was a siren song for men like him. It promised 2 things Spain couldn't: gold and glory. By 19, he was in Hispaniola. By 21, he was helping conquer Cuba. But Cortés wasn't a follower. He was a shark in a pond of goldfish. He spent years building a fortune, but his eyes were always on the horizon, specifically the mysterious mainland to the west. By 1518, the governor of Cuba, Diego Velázquez, finally gave Cortés what he wanted: command of an expedition to explore the coast of Mexico. But Velázquez was a politician. He saw the fire in Cortés's eyes and he got scared. He realized too late that Cortés wasn't looking to explore for the governor, he was looking to own for himself. The governor sent a messenger to stop the expedition. He revoked the commission. He ordered Cortés to stand down. What did Cortés do? He did what any outlaw would do. He accelerated. He gathered his men in the middle of the night, loaded the cannons, and sailed out of the harbor before the governor's soldiers could reach the docks. At that moment, Cortés became a criminal. He was a man without a country, a man who had effectively declared war on his own superiors. There was no going back to Cuba. There was only forward. The men were exhausted. They were outnumbered. Rumors were swirling through the camp like a virus. We should go back, some whispered. We should beg the governor for mercy. Cortés knew that a divided army is a dead army. He knew that as long as those ships sat in the harbor, they represented a Plan B. And in the face of the Aztec Empire, Plan B was a death sentence. He didn't just order the ships burned for the spectacle. It was a cold, calculated move of psychological warfare against his own men. He stripped the ships of their ropes, their sails, and their metal, anything useful. Then he sent his most loyal captains to bore holes in the hulls and set the wood ablaze. Imagine being one of those 500 soldiers. You watch your only way home sink into the dark water. You look at Cortés. He's not looking at the fire. He's looking at the mountains inland. He is telling you, without saying a word, that the only way to see your families again is to march through the heart of an empire and take it for yourselves. But Cortés wasn't just a madman with a torch. He was a master of the great game. He realized quickly that the Aztec Empire, led by the formidable Montezuma II, wasn't a unified monolith. It was a collection of conquered city-states, many of whom hated their Aztec overlords. This is where the cinematic reality gets gritty. Cortés didn't just fight, he talked, he manipulated. He met the Totonacs and the Tlaxcalans. He saw the blood on their altars and the fear in their eyes. He told them, the Aztec take your people for sacrifice. Join me and we will end them. He turned a few hundred Spaniards into an army of thousands. He didn't just bring swords, he brought the resentment of an entire continent. Then came the march, through the mountains, over the frost, and down into the Valley of Mexico. When the Spaniards and their allies first saw Tenochtitlan, they thought they were hallucinating. It was a city built on water. White towers, massive pyramids, and floating gardens connected by stone causeways. It was larger than London, larger than Paris, and cleaner than anything in Europe. This wasn't a hero meeting a villain. It was two high-stakes gamblers staring each other down. Montezuma invited them in, perhaps out of curiosity, perhaps as a keep-your-enemies-close strategy. For months, the Spaniards lived in the heart of the city, surrounded by hundreds of thousands of Aztec warriors. It was a powder keg. The spark was the massacre in the Great Temple. While Cortés was away dealing with an arrest party sent from Cuba, which he defeated and then recruited, by the way, his lieutenant Pedro Alvarado panicked. He saw an Aztec festival and thought it was a trap. He struck first. Cortés returned to a city that wanted his head on a spike. This leads us to La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows, June 30th, 1520. The Spaniards tried to escape in the middle of a torrential rainstorm. They loaded themselves down with so much Aztec gold that when they fell into the lake waters from the broken causeways, the weight of their greed pulled them straight to the bottom. Cortés lost half his men that night. He sat under a cypress tree and wept as the sun rose over his shattered army. Most men would have fled. Most men would have crawled back to the coast and begged for a passing ship. But Cortés had burned his ships a year earlier. That tree he wept under, it wasn't the end. It was the reset. He retreated to Tlaxcala, regrouped, and did the impossible. He realized to take a city on a lake, he needed a navy. In the middle of the mountains, he ordered his men and thousands of native allies to build 13 brigantines, warships. They built them in pieces, carried them over the mountain passes on their backs, and reassembled them on the shores of Lake Texcoco. The siege of Tenochtitlan was not a glorious battle. It was a 3-month nightmare of attrition. He cut off the fresh water, he cut off the food, and then a silent ally did the rest: smallpox. The New World had no immunity. While the Spaniards fought with steel, the Aztecs were dying of a plague they couldn't see. When the city finally fell on August 13th, 1521, it wasn't a triumph of light over dark. It was the total collapse of a civilization. The streets were choked with bodies. The gold was gone. The chronicles of time were rewritten in a single afternoon. Hernán Cortés died in 1547. He wasn't a king. He spent his final years embroiled in lawsuits, ignored by the crown he had enriched, and haunted by the very power he had seized. So why do we still talk about the man who burned his ships? Because the ships represent every excuse we give ourselves to fail. Cortés knew that the human spirit is only truly capable of the impossible when the possible is no longer an option. He was a man of immense cruelty, staggering ambition, and undeniable genius. He showed the world that history isn't made by those who play it safe. It is made by those who are willing to stand on a beach, watch their past turn to ash, and walk into the smoke. What ships are you holding on to? What safety net is keeping you from your own empire? Thank you for joining us on the Chronicles of Time. If you found value in this deep dive. Subscribe for more stories of the bold, the desperate, and the legendary. I'll see you in the next Chronicle.